Awesome. All right. Welcome to REA's general meeting. Thank you everyone for joining today. We're still in week 11. Oh, all right, guys. So our social media, if you guys want to be updated with all of our events or any external events that are going on, be sure to follow REA on our socials. I made it pretty accessible for you guys. So if you guys pull out your phone cameras, scan the QR code, our link tree will give you the ability to see our Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and website. So for our event announcements, we have some quite insightful events coming up. Next week, April 20th, we have JP Perez as a senior analyst for acquisitions. He's also a Cal Poly alumni who will be providing some advice and insights to current students. Next, we have Jay Tuan Huan from NAOP IE, a commercial real estate development association, and he'll be speaking about further details on the membership that they're providing to students. And lastly, we have Gresham Savage Lawyers, and this will be a collaboration with the SLCP Club. And that will be the April 29th, week 14. All right, so our club merchandise. REA is covering the cost of the shirts. All you guys just have to provide is the shipping cost, which is only $5. So if you want to have REA merchandise, Venmo Roxy or email her, and you'll have your REA shirts for the next semester. I'll pass it on to Roxy to talk about the membership.
Okay, so the NAOP Inland Empire, as Allegra said, Jay Tanhuan is gonna come in and speak to us about this. He's gonna be talking about his experience as well as this university membership that NAOP is offering. I think this will be really beneficial to everyone, and it is also towards the current 2021 graduates. So I'll be graduating this semester, so I'll be able to be a part of that membership, as well as whoever is graduating in the 2021 year. So it's a lot with the membership. We have that flyer everywhere on our Instagram, on our emails. So if you guys could go ahead and see what it offers. We also have the Google Forms to sign up, and Allegra or I will be putting it in the chat soon. So the SIOR Scholarship, Gary is going to be talking more about this scholarship opportunity. It is $3,000. The deadline to apply is May 12th. And if you would like the application, please email me. The FRL department already sent it out, but it is a Google Doc, not a Google Doc. It's a Word doc. So I could email that to you if you haven't gotten that email. If you could. And I'm going to give it off to you, Gary.
All righty. Well, welcome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for having me as well. And so I just my little background on myself or a little introduction. My name is Gary Martinez. I'm a commercial real estate broker. I've been in business for a little over 20 years. And I've been, this is pretty much all I know regarding my career. I got right into commercial real estate right from, right when I was still in college. I was going to the University of Laverne. And so my goal here today is to do a couple of things, is to share my experience with you, give as much information as much as everybody would like. Want to share different experiences on how I got here and kind of what my daily life is today as a commercial real estate broker, and also want to talk to you about the $3,000 scholarship that SIOR has prepared. And so overall, why don't I just start with the scholarship? SIOR stands for Society of Industrial and Office Realtors. And what it is, it's a trade organization that's very specific to commercial real estate brokers, even more specific commercial real estate brokers that have an emphasis on industrial properties or office properties. And our organization covers all of Orange County along with Inland Empire. And so what we've been doing the past couple of years is we want to encourage students that are looking to get into commercial real estate and are looking to have a career in it, and is just either looking for some guidance or looking for whatever information that they need. And we want to be able to be a resource for them, so that way they could go ahead and we could help create a path for them so they could get into, again, either industrial or our office properties or just commercial in general. So what we're doing is we're providing 2 scholarships. Each scholarship is $3,000. And so we're reaching out to a couple of different universities, Cal State Fullerton, UC Riverside, along with Cal Poly Pomona. And just want to reach out to the real estate associations and at least offer the opportunity, for the scholarship. Again, the scholarship's $3,000. What we're looking for is the completed application. We want to know a little bit more about you and who you are, what your overall goals are. And so, there's some information that's on the application there where you're able to just tell us a little bit more who you are. And on May 20th, we're going to have our first in-person event. It's going to be in Orange County. We're still figuring out exactly where, but it's probably going to be somewhere like in South Orange County, somewhere like either Irvine or Newport Beach. And so we're looking to give the scholarship, to the recipients at the event in person. And whoever receives a scholarship, the $3,000 will go straight to tuition. So we're not able to cut a check directly to an individual. We're only able to cut a check directly to the, to the school. And anyone that's a recipient of the scholarship, we encourage them to also bring a parent or their parents, bring a professor or bring whoever they like, so they could receive the award as well. And you'll get a chance to hang out with other commercial real estate professionals as well. And so if anyone has any questions specific to the scholarship, just go ahead and let me know. My information is on the application, and my email address along with phone number. If anyone has any questions now, I'll go ahead and I'll take them as well. But a little background on myself, if helpful. I'm a commercial real estate broker. I've been doing this for 20 years. And basically what we do is we work with businesses that are looking to buy, sell, or lease commercial properties. When I first got into the business, I was 20 years old when I got into business. And I got my license at that time. I didn't know real estate was commercial buildings, where if you go to Home Depot, you were to go to 7-Eleven, you're to go to a warehouse, where we see all like the Amazon's products coming out of. I didn't know that was considered real estate. I thought real estate was only homes. And so during that time, when I got my license, I thought I was going to go sell homes. And so what ended up happening is that I got my license and I was looking for a part-time job. And the part-time job that I ended up finding was an assistant property manager at this industrial park. An industrial park is where you have a lot of different units that are there, and they're just warehouses, just open boxes, where people would be manufacturing there. They would manufacture cabinets. They would do iron gates. They would do some type of assembly. They would do whatever businesses typically would do in a what businesses would typically do, like in a warehouse or manufacturing type setting. So I was managing those types of properties, and my goal was just to get this part-time job, save some money, so I could get out there and go sell homes. And when I started realizing, what commercial real estate was a little bit more about and how much money was being made, by some of our clients and by the brokers, I made a commitment at that time to go full steam ahead and just submerge myself into commercial real estate and just focus on commercial real estate and make a career out of it. And that's what I've basically been doing the past, 20 years. So what we do is we work with, small, medium, and large size companies. I mean, companies, one of my biggest client is Suzuki. If you're familiar with Suzuki and the motorcycles, that's our client. We help them with their real estate across the country. We just helped them open up a facility in Tampa, Florida, where we had to jump on the plane with a few executives and help them go understand the market and look for buildings out there, and then eventually acquire a building. We also helped them purchase a property in Panama City, Florida, where we were out there and had to go meet with the mayor, go look at different facilities, meet with different property owners. And we ended up finding some properties that weren't on the market for sale. And what we ended up doing is we started, basically talking to property owners and, just reaching out to them over the phone or going up to their door and just door knocking them, letting them know that we had an interest in purchasing their property. So we ended up doing is assembling, three properties, put them together, ended up buying all three. So now our client Suzuki has a nice facility out there in Panama City, Florida. And so, so that's kind of our I guess people hire us for. They hire us to find them opportunities, right? And I just came back from a meeting a little earlier today where we had one of our clients where he owns a few tire shops and he's looking to open up another tire shop. So I just came back from Riverside and showed him a property on the corner of Madison and Arlington, if anyone's familiar with that area. So we just showed him a property and he seems to like it, and we're probably gonna be submitting an offer, by today or tomorrow. We have another property in the city of Anaheim. It's on Brookhurst. It's a property where there's multiple businesses that are there, multiple tenants, and we're selling the entire center to an investor. And basically what we're doing is not only selling the property, but we're also selling the income that the property is being generated from those tenants. And so, essentially that's kind of what we do, day in and day out. We're problem solvers. We help make our clients as much money as possible, through the real estate. We have another office building in the city of Orange, where there's multiple businesses that are there that rent out the space, from the property owner. And it's our job is to find new businesses and new tenants that would move into their space, so those businesses could pay our client, the property owner, rent, right? Because that's what they bought the property for, is for income. And so we would bring in new tenants, make sure the tenants are qualified or able to pay rent, then have the tenants pay the property owner rent, maximize, the amount of money that the property owner makes per month. And the amount of money that the property makes as a whole, from all the tenants, really dictates the value of the property. So the higher the amount of money that we could collect for the property owner, the overall better position the property owner is going to be, and they're going to have a better property that has a higher value as well. And so I know I've been talking a little bit. I want to make sure I want to answer any questions, and I certainly talk a lot more about our deals or opportunities. But if anyone has any questions, I just don't want to ramble on here. I want to make sure that my time here with you is as productive as possible. So if anyone has any questions, I'll take some questions.
Out of my curiosity, Gary, I'm aware that you do brokerage in the industrial and office side. I'm curious to see what is your outlook on the office side of commercial real estate.
And then that's actually a question we get a lot, from a lot of our clients. So, especially the past year, there's been a lot of concern having to do with office properties, and we hear a lot in the news that a lot of businesses are moving out of office spaces, and which is somewhat true, at the same time not necessarily as well. So from our experience the past 12 months having to do with office space, it really depends on the type of building it was. So if we think about the properties that are in in Ontario, you think about the the mid-rise office buildings that are over there, or if we're familiar with the high-rise office buildings that are in downtown LA or some of the mid and high rise office buildings that are in like in Irvine and Newport Beach. So usually those are the properties that seem to be suffering the most, the ones that are in these high rise office buildings. Because if we think of like downtown LA, right? So when we drive to downtown LA, it's very difficult to get to. So what ends up happening is that a lot of people take the, the bus over there, or take the, the Metrolink or subway over there. And they are, they get off right there, and they disperse and go into all the different office buildings. So if you don't have public transportation towards, downtown LA, and because if you were ever going through the Metrolink, to downtown LA, like at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, I mean, you're packed. It's like sardines. Like there's like hardly any room to even stand on the buses and the Metrolinks that are over there. And so once the pandemic hit, a lot of businesses recognized, or a lot of people just weren't very comfortable going to the office anymore, so they just stopped going to the office. So what ended up happening is that the office buildings in downtown LA, or, Newport Beach and Irvine, a lot of businesses stopped, or a lot of employees stopped going to the office and started working from home. But if we think about some of the offices that are out there, and if we think about some of the areas that we live in, if we think of in Pomona, around Cal Poly, there are some office buildings that are over there, that are like 2 stories, right? And so the ones that are 2 stories typically have businesses that occupy like 1,000 square feet or 800 square feet. And to kind of figure out what 800 square feet looks like, if you could picture a 2-car garage at a home, that's 400 square feet. So if you're to add 2 of those together, that's typically about 800 square feet. And in 800 square feet, you could put about 4 people in there, 4 to 5 people in there as an office space. So most businesses that occupy any type of commercial real estate are very small, right? So if you're in an office space, with you've been working with 4 people throughout the year, or throughout the years, and and then everyone's kind of distancing themselves, or maybe one person works from home, but the other 3 or 4 continue going to the office. What we found is that the office buildings that we handled and we took care of, I didn't have one client or one tenant leave the property or even stop paying rent during time of COVID, because all of them were able to continue to pay rent. All of them were continuing to pay rent during that time. And so especially if you're like financial services company, if you do some type of accounting, you do some type of real estate, you do some type of a service-based business, a lot of those businesses didn't stop during this time of COVID. They may have stopped going to the office very frequently, or a lot of them just kind of stood at home, but the business didn't stop. So therefore, a lot of those types of businesses were able to continue to pay rent. So I guess overall, when we hear about people moving out of office, it's mainly having to do with like the large office buildings that are in like downtown LA or in Newport Beach or Irvine. Not a whole lot of stuff that was local in our local cities that we would see like as 2-story or 1-story office. I mean, a lot of those businesses remained, and a lot of those property owners been able to weather the storm, and we fast forward ourselves 12 months later or 13 months later, to today. We are starting to see a lot more businesses that are looking to get out of their homes, are looking to move out of their office that they had in downtown LA or in Newport, and have an office space that's more closer to home. So again, the office buildings that are 1 and 2-story, we're able to weather the storm, the past 12 months, and now are starting to see occupancy rise and rents rise, in those properties. And so, overall, we think office is going to increase. There's going to be a big demand for office. People want to get out of their homes and they want to, get back to work. They miss hanging out with their with their partners, and they miss going to lunch, with their, with their partners, and just being in the office. So overall, I mean, office, did take a big hit, but when we talk about the big hits, again, we're talking about the big office spaces, not so much, the smaller office buildings. So.
Right. That's really interesting. That's how I saw Office perform. Um, it was like evolving. Everyone was saying, "Oh, Office is dead. COVID just killed it." But I saw how it could evolve. People were transitioning to uh, being working at home, but also, that work culture will never leave, right? We do need offices. So really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, and another thing having to do with industrial, I mean, during this time, I mean, it's been hotter than ever. I mean, industrial prices just continue to rise. It is going crazy, crazy high. And there's so very little availability out there. It's just hard to find a warehouse or industrial building. And the prices that these business owners have to pay, what we're finding in an industrial building in a lot of cases are becoming more expensive than an office building.
Right.
Which is kind of a strange, not necessarily strange, but if you think about the amount of money it takes to build an office building, you think about all the lights and the floors and the carpets and the walls, and everything that goes into an office building, it costs way more to build an office than it is a warehouse, because essentially a warehouse are they're called concrete tilt-ups, because what they do is they pour concrete, and then they tilt it up. And that tilt up becomes the wall. So they build 4 concrete walls, tilt it up, and then to put a roof up on top, and then essentially there you go. You have your warehouse. And so that type of structure is way cheaper to build than it is an office. But industrial buildings are becoming more expensive than office buildings.
The one thing I saw about industrial, a lot of the companies that do go have industrial buildings that rent them out, they have contracts. So these contracts last about, I should say, 10 years max plus, right? Because, for example, all the equipment that takes in, like if Amazon were to get into a building, they need specific equipment and that requires contracts for them to stay. So was that a factor why they performed so well during the pandemic? Because they just had to stay. They couldn't really leave.
Well, yeah, because I mean, most warehouses and distribution type businesses were always considered essential, right? Especially during the time of pandemic. I mean, we needed to get product out to people's homes as quickly as possible. So those types of businesses, remained essential. They were never ever closed down. So what ended up happening, especially with some of the individuals and the people that that were laid off, from retail or from an office setting. What we've been finding the past 12 months, we've been having business formation, so new businesses being formed faster than probably any time that we've had in history. And so there's a lot of new businesses that are being generated, especially with technology. People are able to do things through Etsy, or do things sell things through Facebook or Instagram. What ends up happening is that some of those individuals stop or get tired from working from home. They find that they're growing, that they need to hire 1 or 2 people, so they need to get into a small office or a small warehouse. And so therefore, all the property owners that had small units found themselves that they were able to lease out their property much quicker than compared to properties that had big vacant spaces. And so overall, we've been, one thing that we preach to our clients is that we talk to them is, how do we maximize cash flow, right? Because if we can maximize cash flow, we can maximize the value of the property. And we do that by, making sure, we talk about trying to make the property COVID proof is what we call it. Let's make it COVID proof. And we make it COVID proof by trying to put in the businesses that have been doing well during this time, and have been able to not only sustain themselves, but have been able to increase during this time of COVID as well. And so those are some of the things that we look at as we're looking at businesses. And so I know we have some questions there.
All right, I have one more question. I'm sorry, I'm kind of just throwing a bunch of questions to you, Gary, but I want to see your perspective on how industrials performing, specifically in the Inland Empire, because from what I've heard of the industrials running up, especially in the Inland Empire, I know that the IE is one of the biggest industrial sectors in the United States, but
Correct.
we're running out. So do you see a lot of expansion in kind of the Barstow area going up? I've been seeing a lot of expansion in industrial up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see a lot of expansion in the Barstow area, and going that direction towards Vegas and towards Arizona. I mean, we're going to start to see some increase of industrial requirements over there. But to understand Inland Empire, why did it explode? The way that it's been exploding all these years, having to do with industrial. I mean, Inland Empire has been there essentially forever. But what has been the biggest driver or difference of why Inland Empire compared to the rest of the country, right? And that's been a question as to what's different about Inland Empire, right? And then to understand that is to understand not only technology, because I think we all understand now technology, right? We're able to order things online and get things out, but to understand it is to understand the trucking industry. And so truck drivers are able to essentially drive, 10 hours a day before they just can't, they got to stop. They can't drive anymore. And so you think about Inland Empire, you think about on the corner of the 15 freeway and the 10 freeway, where essentially where Ontario Mills is at. So we think about 5 hours. How far can we drive in 5 hours? You think about the big cities we could hit, right? So we know we could hit all of Inland Empire. We know we could hit Orange County. We know we could hit Los Angeles County. We could hit Ventura. We could hit Fresno. We could hit Arizona, Phoenix area. We could hit Las Vegas. And so because of the big requirements for distribution, for online sales, became a big requirement for big distribution spots. So sorry about that. Hold on quick. Sorry about that. So we think about the requirement for the big distribution buildings, and essentially because you could hit all of those areas, from that basically intersection of the 10 and the 15, became a big requirement, for large warehouse distribution buildings. And so as online sales just continue to happen more and more and more, well, Inland Empire is one of the few areas, that you could hit all these major markets within this time period. It's also one of the few areas that basically has flat land. We have a lot of flat land throughout the country, but what ends up happening is that, since we're on a slope, a lot of things, are able to go towards towards the ocean. We think about Texas, we think about Georgia. I mean, those areas are super hot as well, but the challenge that they have over there is that their flat land has a lot of creeks going through it. So being able to put an industrial building, where a creek's going through, I mean, that's very challenging and very difficult and very expensive to reroute, the water. So Inland Empire has had a lot of flat land, and again, major areas. So if we think about, the paths going from Inland Empire, towards Las Vegas and Phoenix, I mean, those areas have nowhere to go except up because of the amount of distribution that's just been happening between each of those cities. So yeah, Barstow is definitely an area. I think Inland Empire, everything that's going east of the 15 is just going to continue to grow. We're seeing a lot of growth in Colton and Fontana, and all that area is just going to continue to grow. Where Ontario has been becoming, and it already is basically like the center of all of Inland Empire, and everything's just growing from there. And again, the reason why Ontario is the center, because that's kind of ground zero of where you're able to get to all the major metro cities, from Ontario.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
have a question on the chat. I'll read it off. If you had an opportunity to prepare your 20-year-old self for your upcoming broker career, what skills would you tell yourself to work and focus on?
Two things. Here's what I did. I entrenched myself into understanding the industry as quickly as I could. So I got a lot of books that I read, a lot of audiobooks I would listen to all the time. I still do, read a lot of books and a lot of audio today. But one thing I would focus on also is really understanding marketing, because is essentially, I mean, the business, real estate is really a people business, right? It's contacts, right? The more people we know, the more contacts we have, essentially, the more opportunities are going to come our way, right? And so I always believe in this saying, and this saying, or this quote actually changed my life. It changed my career. The quote is, with all things being equal, people want to do business with the people they know, like, and trust. And when things are not quite so equal, people still want to do business with the people they know, like, and trust. So what that tells us, and what it told me, was that I didn't have to be the most experienced. I didn't have to be the most knowledgeable. I didn't have to be, the guy that knew everything. But what it told me is that people had to know me, they had to like me, and they had to trust me, right? So if I had an opportunity where they can know, like, and trust me, then it didn't matter that I didn't understand everything having to do with commercial real estate. I didn't understand everything had to do with the market or the cycle that we're in, or this whole COVID stuff. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is that people know, like, and trust me. And if they know, like, and trust me, then they gave me opportunities. And so, essentially, what I would do is help answer the question is submerge myself with understanding the business the best you can, but really getting out there and market myself. I would market myself by doing a couple different things. I see that you have NAIOP, that's going to be talking to you. I'm with SIOR, also another organization called CCIM. So just getting entrenched in the different associations and organizations that are out there, and giving the people the opportunity to know, like, and trust you. Because again, because I remember when I first got out of college, and I was, trying to find business, I was timid, and I didn't know how to do it. I was like thinking, well, how can someone trust, this 20-year-old kid, with this, these $1 million, properties? But again, it's the relationships that gets you to the destination that you're looking for. And we could be the smartest person. We can know everything that we need to know about commercial real estate, but if people don't know who we are, then we essentially got no opportunity. So, marketing, getting out there, for people to know, like, and trust you is the biggest thing in commercial real estate, and all of real estate, and anything having to do with sales, actually. So marketing would be my thing, and getting out there and meeting the people.
Thank you. Martin asked, I have a relatively long question. So Martin, if you want to unmute yourself and ask.
Sure. Hi, Gary. So there's been a lot of hype in the media about a supposed exodus of American corporations and companies out of California. So my question is the commercial real estate industry actually projecting this as a fact? And if they are, to what extent is that being projected?
Yeah, great question. And it's actually something that, we talk about quite a bit. So there is a lot of people, I mean, not just businesses, but people individually saying, hey, I'm going to leave California because it's too expensive over here, or taxes are just too high. So I'm going to move to Arizona. I'm going to move to, Vegas. I'm going to move to, wherever they're thinking about moving. But there's so many people here. There's so many businesses here. Even though I hear this on the media as well, experience wise, I don't see, if I didn't hear this in the media, I wouldn't know any different, right? Because there's just so much activity that's out here, right? And we think about, Southern California, we think about California is in general, we think about the GDP that California has, just on its own, was it like the 6th or 7th largest, it's the state of California has the 6th or 7th most GDP in the entire world, right? So we think about all the people that are here, even more specifically in Southern California. You really cannot do business in the United States without doing business with Southern California, right? You could do business in Texas, you could do business in New York, you could do business in Florida or Chicago, but you really have everyone across the country seems to have a tie here to Southern California. And people want to come out here, people want to be here, and you just can't get up and move. Now, businesses that can get up and move are more like manufacturing companies. We think about Tesla. Tesla, moved out of Southern California, and they moved to, I think, Arizona. Toyota moved out of Southern California, moved to Texas. Well, they're a manufacturing facility, so that it makes a lot of sense for them because they can manufacture and be in the middle of the country and be able to distribute from the middle of the country and outwards, as opposed to all the way from the western side of California and try to distribute, to the rest of the country becomes pretty expensive. So if they're a large manufacturing company, yeah, they could do that. But if they're not a large manufacturing company, it's very difficult and very challenging. And we think of all the growth again about Inland Empire and how much it's been growing. It's been growing with distribution centers because of the amount of people that are here. So like Amazon just can't get up and leave. Home Depot can't just get up and leave. You just cannot just get up and leave so easily unless you're a large manufacturing company. But again, most of Southern California is not manufacturing. It's it's everything else. And so there's a lot of talks about that, and it's actually happening. But the masses are not large enough where we're seeing a devaluation in property or less properties on the market.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's a good question.
I have two questions. So the first one was, I remember you mentioned that you just read a lot and you listened to a lot of audiobooks. Out of all the books you read, what is the one book that you recommend for us to read that we like to understand more about real estate and brokerages and stuff like that?
Okay, I got a lot of books. And actually some of those books were very instrumental, where I pick up and I still read, every so often today. But regarding brokerage itself, okay, so there's his name is Rod Santomassimo. Okay, Rod Santomassimo. He has 3 books, and what he is a coach. So he coaches people like me, a commercial real estate broker, on how to improve their business, how to find new clients, and how to market themselves. And so his book is all focused on commercial real estate brokers being more successful and driving more business their way, right? So any one of his 3 books would be fantastic. I have all 3, but that regarding brokerage, those are the books I would look at and I would jump into right away, and start reading. Rod Santomassimo. Also, yeah, that's right. Also, what I listen to, not so much now, but I would listen to every day. There's a podcast called the Commercial Real Estate Show. The person that runs that is Michael Bull. Michael Bull, he's with Bull Realty in Atlanta, Georgia. And he has a lot of different people that he interviews, and it's all related to commercial real estate. So when I would go to the gym, I'd go running, or I had some extra time, I'd throw on his podcast, and I just kind of listen as to what he's talking about, because he's giving some additional information as to what's happening in the market and how things are evolving and changing. And so that would be a fantastic podcast to listen to.
Thank you.
Yeah, a book I love. I bought it twice. I have it on my Kindle. I have it on my Audible. My number one book is an author name. His name is Chris Voss. Chris Voss. Never Split the Difference. Yeah, it's all in negotiations, and what I found is that the better we're able to deal with people and to deal with conflict, the better we're going to be at an opportunity to get what we want, right? To do the deals that we want. And that book has changed how I negotiate, how I approach things, and it's made me a lot of money in the sense as to the different suggestions that it has on how to deal with people. And so that book is amazing. I got a lot of other books, so if you want to know more about books, I got a lot more books.
Yeah, I'll definitely email you about that.
Yeah.
The other question I had was, I read a lot of articles, especially with the pandemic. Like, there's been a lot of articles about how out of all the types of commercial real estate, industrial is the one that's shown through. And so I was wondering if you had any like personal opinions on like, why do you think industrial has shown through compared to like other ones like housing and multifamily homes and stuff like that?
Well, industrial, there's not enough industrial buildings that are here in Southern California. And the developers are a little far behind. So I think a lot of this started in 2008 and 9, when Amazon started to really take off, and Walmart started to really take off along with Target, with their online sales. And in 2008 and 9, we saw a lot of businesses go out of business and go bankrupt, and there was a big change on how we did business, and technology was a big factor in that. And so again, just kind of going back to distribution of people just ordering online, required a big requirement for warehouse distribution buildings. But another thing also, what ended up happening is a lot of many years ago, essentially a lot of our manufacturing jobs moved to China. And as China started to reform on how they did things, and the wars that we were having when Trump was in office, as far as really putting some blocks on being able, not being so cooperative with China. What ended up happening, and this was during the Obama time, and it really had to do with the reform that China had, is that they really wanted to make more China, make it a little bit more like a little bit more like the United States, in the sense that they wanted to give people typical wages, where they're just not just manufacturing in areas where the conditions were really harsh and very difficult for people to work in. And so by doing that, essentially it made things a little bit more expensive, to manufacture in China. So we started seeing reshoring back into the United States or into Mexico, where it wasn't as cheap to manufacture in China anymore. The overall cost was essentially becoming somewhat equal, just to manufacture the stuff here, either United States or in Mexico. And so we saw a lot of reshoring, back to to United States and into North America. And again, you couple that along with the requirements for distribution, the online shopping. The two combined just had a big requirement and created a lot of requirements for warehouse and industrial type properties. And so what happened in 2008 and 9, what happened in 2006 and 7, there was a lot of development that was happening, and especially with residential and homes. And so what ended up happening is that you had all these new developments. The end of 2007 came, the Great Recession started, where a lot of these properties just stopped getting developed, and a lot of developers were in the middle of development and just couldn't finish their development anymore because no people were buying, or they ran out of money, or the bank just stopped lending to them. And so as soon as 2008 and 9 was over, a lot of developers did not want to develop their properties because they were a little gun shy because they got burned, from all the different developments that they did a few years ago, and industrial wasn't getting developed during that time. So there was a big, massive requirement for industrial. So industrial just wasn't getting developed. So therefore, whatever was left in the marketplace as far as industrial properties was getting eaten up pretty quickly. It wasn't getting built quickly enough. So therefore, it's just been there was a shortage of industrial. So which supply and demand. You have a high demand, low supply. So it's just pushing prices up. And so that's kind of what's happening with industrial. What's been happening or evolving with industrial. My sense with industrial, I think, is just going to continue to grow. This whole pandemic thing has just made a bigger requirement for warehouse distribution space. So I think with the limited supply that's out there and the high demand, industrial has nowhere to go except up. And so if we're talking to an investor, if they're asking, hey, I have $1 million, $2 million, or whatever it is, where do I put my money? If we could find a property that makes sense, industrial is a place that I want to be. And it's not just here in Southern California. Actually, this is across the country, especially if we could go down areas where major corridors are at. If we think about, if a truck were to leave here in Southern California and go to Chicago, go to Dallas, go to Florida, what are the truck paths that they take to get from Southern California to Chicago or to Vegas or to Arizona? Along those truck paths are the areas where the demand for warehousing industrial property is going to be required. And that's kind of where Barstow and all these other areas, come in big demand because it's along the truck path. So if we could follow the patterns of the truck patterns and the truck paths, those are good areas to have industrial buildings. Another thing to look at is airports. There's some new airports that are out there, or airports that are looking to expand. The expansion of airports is an expansion of goods being flowed into the area as well. So the more goods you have in the area, you have the more demand for warehouse. And we think about, the ports here in Long Beach and LA. There's so many containers that are coming in. We see all the containers just sitting there. So the ports are not big enough to handle all the containers that are coming in. And once the containers do come in, where did they go? They need warehouse space. So again, there's so much warehouse space that's required along our ports here in LA and Long Beach and all our ports throughout the country. So warehouse, industrial, in my opinion, is just going to continue to increase, be in demand, and the values are just going to continue to go up.
Thank you.
It seems we have one more question we could get. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, I'll ask my question then. So last note you made about Chris Voss kind of tied into my question was, have you ever had a deal that kind of went sideways? And what did you learn from that?
Yeah, we had a lot of deals go sideways. And I'm always learning, and I still feel like I'm a student of real estate. I mean, I'll tell you a deal that we're working on right now is we have a building in the city of Orange right next to Angel Stadium, where it's an office building, a multi-tenant office building. So there's multiple units that are there. And we have the property up on the market for sale. We have multiple offers that came in. And one of the offers that came in came from a developer that's looking to redevelop the property into residential. And so what they need, so it's not a typical transaction of like, hey, here's your money, give me the property. What they have to do is they have to go to the city and they have to change the zoning that's there in the city. And every city has a general plan that helps govern on how the city is developed. But so they have to go over there and not only change the zoning, but they have to change the general plan of the property or of the city. So there's a lot of public hearings that they have to go through with city council. And so So the process with that is going to take, somewhere between 18 to 24 months. And so this is actually my first time of dealing with a developer that's going to knock down an office building and convert residential into an area where the city doesn't allow or doesn't allow that type of use on the property because it goes against their zoning and the general plan. And so so understanding, what's the developers have to go through is something that basically I'm learning like today. And so so yeah, we're always learning, and there's always a lot of things having to do with real estate that's consistently coming up. One of the things, if you do move forward and get your real estate license, is you're going to take your principles course. I can tell you a lot of stuff that you're going to learn in principles is stuff that you're really not going to use in real life. However, the longer you're in real estate, you're going to start to see the things you learned in principles starts to come up from time to time. So it is a very good class and good course to really study and to comprehend. And so yeah, I'm always learning, and that's one right now that we're learning on right now as we speak.
Thank you for that. So we are near 5 more minutes. I'm sure people have class at 1. So thank you for taking the time, Gary, to speak to us. If anyone has any further questions for Gary about his advice or just the scholarship, so in the REA email, you could see the scholarship flyer, and his information would be on the bottom if you want to go ahead and see that. But yeah, I could stay back. The NAOP in the membership sign-in form, I will put in the chat. It's right there. But yeah, that's about it for today. Thank you, Gary.
Well, thank you for your time. And if I may, anyone looking to get in commercial real estate, please give me a call. If you have any questions, just reach out to me anytime. I owe a lot to the people that helped me get to where I'm at, and I feel the need to give back. So if anyone has any questions, just give me a call anytime.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you for your time.